Futures trading is absolutely blowing up, and so are futures prop firms. And in this video, I want to make a top 5 futures prop firms for 2026. So let's jump right into the screen, and let's start off with number 5, which is going to be Topstep. Now, I believe Topstep is the FTMO of the futures industry. But here's the problem. I believe that Topstep made a couple of moves that put them down in the ranks by a lot, such as removing tradeify, focusing on Topstep X, which is a platform that I personally don't like, and then that platform having issues. I think that that really was a step back for Topstep, given all of the new prop firms that came along with the prop firm industry. And so Topstep, I personally believe, hey, they made a very good move with the no activation fee or standard, which, by the way, they always only had the standard, which was $49 a month for a 50K account, and you paid $149 once you passed. Now it's $129, and I never really liked it because that means that as soon as I pass, challenge gonna skyrocket. The price of the challenge is going to skyrocket. And so they introduced the no activation fee, which, by the way, made me like Topstep again, right? So $50,000 account, it's $89, same challenge, but you have no activation fee. Now here's the thing, the no activation fee is worth it unless you blow 3 accounts. I've done the math. If you plan on just full porting and blowing more than 3 accounts, then definitely go for the standard. But personally, I always go for the no activation fee. And I would say Topstep is a great prop firm. They've been here for a long time. I didn't like some moves that they made, but again, I don't think it would ever be a good video talking about futures prop firms that doesn't mention Topstep. Okay, they're still one of the best in this industry. So Topstep is number 5. Now, number 4 is a prop firm that I wasn't really expecting. Number 4 is tradeify. So tradeify, they absolutely took over the futures prop firm industry with their instant funding. They were one of the first prop firms that blew up because of instant funding. And since then, they've added to, well, they had previous accounts too, but what was going viral was their instant funding. I personally, I've never been a fan of the instant funding. I'm gonna be very honest with you. I still don't recommend it. I think there's way too many rules, way too many moving parts. Challenge is way more expensive. So if you're ever asking me, just know I will not tell you to go for an instant funding account. Now you have the growth, which has no consistency rule on the challenge, but it has a 35 consistency rule on the funded account. And by the way, the only reason why these rules are in play is because a prop firm needs to be profitable, right? The rules to be in favor of them, but also in favor of the trader. If the rules just in favor of the trader, the prop firm is going to go down. If it's just benefiting the prop firm, then no trader is going towards that prop firm. So this is always the balance that they reach. If you don't like the rules, just go into another one, right? So the growth, 50K, you have a profit target of $3,000 with a maximum trailing drawdown of 2,000, which means 1.5 profit to drawdown ratio. And then you have a daily loss limit, which is 1.25. Now, I'm not really a big fan of having a daily loss limit on the challenge when you also have a consistency rule and a daily loss limit on the funded stage. But here's the thing. That is why this is also a cheaper challenge. It's a good offer because of the price. And if you want to pass in one day. And then you have the select, which has an easier challenge, but it has a consistency rule on the challenge. So it's easier on paper because the profit target is 2.5 and the trailing drawdown is 2, but the consistency rule is 40%. And then, by the way, you can choose between daily and flex. I would always go for the flex. Why? Because it doesn't have a daily loss limit, and I really do cherish that. So I would go for the flex, and I would say tradeify, with the amazing payout experience that they have, with how substantial they've been ever since they came in. I really want to give tradeify the number 4. And if you use code Kimmel, you will always get the best discount code. Now, the next one is My Funded Futures. And My Funded Futures, they went through a very interesting path. They were the underdog as soon as they came into the futures industry because they were a CFD prop firm that is still there, but they also launched one of the first prop firms that was CFD that turned into futures. And I really liked the plans when they started, but they started changing things up and etc. But now they only have 2 or 3. Sometimes they introduced the scale plan. Now, I like the pro plan what I don't like is that it is more expensive. Again, sometimes they run a discount code. You can always try with code Kimmel that gives you the best discount code, but I would always go for the Pro due to the simple fact that you have a drawdown at end of day. I don't really like trailing drawdown live because, and that is what the Rapid has. It's gonna be cheaper and you have daily payouts, but you have a consistency rule during the eval, which by the way is still end of day trailing drawdown. But then as soon as you move into funding, you have real-time drawdown. And I personally believe real-time drawdown is the enemy of 99% of traders. And we'll still talk about that, by the way. And then we have the Pro. Really like the Pro. The big difference is how payouts are processed. With the Pro plan, you can request up to $100,000. Personally, I really like the Pro plan. It's just that without a discount, it is a little bit more expensive. And now you might ask, well, Kimmel, why is it that the Rapid plan would be worth it? Well, you can get a payout daily and you get a 90-10 profit split. The only thing, as soon as you do $10,000 in one trading day, they instantly move you to live. While on the Pro plan, you need 3 consecutive payouts or $20,000 in profit. And so the reason I put my funded futures as number 3 is because they still have a great offer and they've been here for a long time. And I really like that. And they went from underdog to a very big prop firm. So I'll give it a number 3, and their payout experience is next to none. Pretty much like tradeify, withdraw profits in as fast as 1 minute. And this is true. Once you try it, you'll fall in love. Now, the number 2 prop firm is the balance of prop firms that I really like. And that is going to be Funded Next. So Funded Next is a prop firm that is huge in the CFD industry. And now they introduced futures. And at first, I liked it because they had a lot of scale, but there was one thing that I didn't like. And that was that they only had the legacy challenge, which was a 40% consistency rule on the challenge phase. And as you know, one of the things that I say is that the last thing you want as a profitable trader is to be stuck in the challenge phase. And so I understand the risk to reward with prop firms, and I'm going to go with large risk on the challenge when I buy a challenge. A challenge usually doesn't last me more than 1 or 2 days, because then once I start getting payouts, I start getting a lot of payouts, right? But now they introduced the Rapid challenge. And so the way I describe Funded Next is like this. Do you want a consistency rule on the challenge, meaning you're not going to full port the account, or do you want a consistency rule on the funded account? And then from there, you can make your decision. And I think that that simplicity, with the fact that they have no activation fees, no minimum benchmark, this is only on the Rapid. It's a one-time fee, which means this is not a monthly plan, which means that you can take 3-4 months to pass an account. This makes it very simple for you that are watching to understand. You can see that in one line, I can describe pretty much if you want to go for the Rapid or the legacy. And I really like that. Coming from a massive CFD prop firm into the futures industry, introducing 2 simple plans, very simple payout policy. You're also capped at $100,000 and then they move you to live. And the only question you need to ask yourself is, do you want a consistency rule on the challenge or on the funded account? Personally, I always go for the Rapid challenge. The legacy is also great. Why? Because you're technically going to have an easier challenge. 1.2 profit to drawdown ratio, but you have a 40% consistency rule. While on the Rapid, you have a 1.5 profit to drawdown ratio, and you have no daily loss limit, no activation fee, no minimum benchmark days, one-time fee, and then afterwards you just have the 40% consistency rule on the funded account, which by the way, the last time that I got funded with Funded Next, within 3 days, I got my first payout. By the way, with code KT, you will always get the best discount code, okay? Always the best discount code with code KT. So that is Funded Next. I do believe that Funded Next is very much deserving of the number 2 spot. Very simple to understand, very simple rules, and you can hit great scale, especially with the fact that it's always based on end of day balance. I think that is something very good that they have that other prop firms don't. For example, on tradeify, their growth account where you can get funded in 1 day has the daily loss limit of 1.2k, while on Funded Next in this case, they have no daily loss limit and the challenge is pretty much as easy as tradeify. But you don't have the daily loss limit. While on my funded futures, they always have a consistency rule on the challenge. And if we go to the consistency rule on the challenge, which in this case is 40% instead of 50%, it's easier to pass and it's also cheaper, especially if you use code KT. So that's why funded next, I have to give them number 2. And now, last but not least, the prop firm that maybe you all were waiting for, but possibly the prop firm that most people hate, but still takes number 1 for one specific reason. For one thing, I'm judging prop firms on ease of payout, ease of challenge, and scalability. And now, these two, let's say they're not as easy. Oh my God, I didn't just do this. Okay, these two are not as easy and there's one missing, and that is scalability. There's only one prop firm in which you've ever seen give a $2 million payout, or two $2 million payouts in one single month, or multiple $1 million payouts, and that is Apex. And that is the one reason as to why I have to give them the number 1 spot. I personally believe that 95 to 99% of you watching should not really go for that scale that I'm talking about, because it requires a lot of money, because the people that reach those sort of payouts also spend a lot on challenges, and the headache of being 3 months very profitable, pushing size to go for that scale is very, very high. And I don't think 99% of you, including me, should go for it. Yet, I will say, because it's the only prop firm that gives you that possibility, I have to put it at number 1. The challenge is very easy to pass, especially if you full port it. Pretty much most of the time they run 90% off, so the challenges are cheap. Activation fees are cheaper too. With code Kimmel, it will always apply the best discount code, by the way. And the profit to drawdown ratio is the smallest in the industry, which means $2,500 of drawdown that they give you with $3,000 worth of profit target. Now, some people might say, well, Kimmel, if that's the case, why do people not like what you're saying? It's because they have consistency rule on the funded account. It's not the easiest account for you to get a payout, and they have trailing drawdown on open positions. You know, what we talked about with my funded futures on the rapid, where the drawdown mode is real time, the same thing is with Apex. And that is why people seriously dislike them. And I disagree. I fully disagree. I think that the amount of scale that you get is worth it for the rules that they give you. And that's why I will put them as number 1, just because you can pretty much get 20x the scale that you can get on all of these other prop firms, right? And that is why it is at number 1. But again, I do not recommend it to 99% of you watching. Listen, 99% of you, if you really want to go for the simplest one, listen, funded next, you either want the consistency rule on the challenge or you want the consistency rule on the funded account, right? Once you get to $100,000 in payouts, they will move you to live, and then you have your live market conditions. And that's pretty much it, right? Like, this is the simplest way to go. Code KT will always give you the best discount code, and I'll just say this, all of these prop firms are amazing. Depends on who you are. If you want the FTMO of the space, you always have topstep, of course, but you have some reliability issues sometimes. But for some of you, that's fine. You have tradeify with a cheaper account, but worse rules. Again, I say worse always like this because it's very subjective what is worse. Because some people value price way more than they value rules. So therefore, it's not worse, it's just different, right? Then you have my funded futures, a little bit of the higher price, but you're buying the reliability, you're buying the payout process, you're buying all those qualities. And then with funded next, by the way, I didn't even mention this. If they don't pay you in 24 hours, they will give you an extra $1,000, which is absolutely amazing. And you have no daily loss limit, as I mentioned before. And so with that, again, that is my top 5. Feel free to disagree with me in the comments. Just keep it non-offensive, I guess. Like, just know all of this is subjective to you, to me. This is my top 5 after 4 years of trading the prop firm industry. So with that being said, hope you all enjoyed. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.